Hello and welcome to the Rockies Now podcast. So good to be back and see you all again. And Adam, good to see your smiling face. Tom, good to see your smiling face as well. It's that time of year where we're getting ready for the All-Star game, and tonight we're going to talk about a little bit about the draft, about Ethan Holliday, and how we're praying every single day before we eat our meals that the Rockies go out and get Ethan Holliday. But we're not going to only talk about that. We're going to talk a bit about the Rockies patch announcement today. We're going to talk about the Monforts a little bit. Of course, we want to talk about that because that came out, I think, last week, and I really want to talk about it and hear your guys' thoughts on that. And then we might talk a little bit about the All-Star voting stuff that's going on. I know Adam definitely wants to talk about that, but let's jump into it. So, but before we get into the heart of the stuff, let's talk about the Rockies, guys. I mean, the Rockies, they have improved quite a bit, I think, in terms of on-field performance ever since Bud Black has been fired from the organization. And thank goodness that those reports of him coming back as I think it was a pitching coach or director of pitching, that won't be happening. Thank goodness, because I think that announcement came literally a day after Charlie Monfort, I think he still in some ways is a co-owner of the Rockies, but he basically said that, yeah, my brother needs to sell. We need fresh eyes in the organization. And here the next day, the Rockies say, hey, there's reports saying that they're going to bring back Bud Black. I'm like, how ironic of the Rockies. So, but hey, baseball has been good for the Rockies for the most part, while still under 500. For at one point, the Rockies were playing right around 500, which is quite a bit better than when we were starting the season. The Rockies, they got a sweep in Miami, almost swept the Nationals. So can we play the National League East teams the entire rest of the season, please? I mean, we played pretty well against the Braves too in Atlanta. We won that Father's Day game. It was like 10-1 or something like that. That was awesome. So guys, Rockies have been playing a little bit better baseball. Obviously, Hunter Goodman has been our lone all-star type of player. He'll probably be heading to the all-star game, as he should. And I just don't get why, again, we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but I don't get why Carson Kelly is ahead of Hunter Goodman in the voting. But a lot of excitement. Mickey Moniak, he's hitting 300 in his last few weeks. Tyler Freeman, he's an on-base freak show. He's been awesome. So it's been nice to see better baseball. So we'll take that.
We will.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to go to Tom there first. I wasn't ready. But Tom, Tom, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's I'll address Lux's who's back with the comments. It's yes, Lux. It is good to have the three amigos are back. Unfortunately, I don't have a sombrero to wear, so I can't exactly play up to the movie.
That's
but
all right.
It is good. I mean, it is rather encouraging. While Steve was talking, I was trying to look up the splits for months. I'll come up with that in a little bit. But it is a pleasant thing to know the Rockies are not last in Major League Baseball in team OPS. That honor goes to the Chicago White Sox. The Rockies are currently 25th in OPS. They're last in ERA, but that's okay. To the point about Hunter Goodman, he will make the All-Star game. Carson Kelly is not going unless it's for an alternate reason. Fans just vote for who's doing well, air quotes, on the big market teams. This is not a shot at Carson Kelly, but the reserves and the starters should be the best players in baseball. Hunter Goodman will get the nod. He won't start unless, of course, there's injuries to the starter, which is probably going to. I can't remember who it would be right now. I have to check. But anyway.
Will Smith.
Thank you. That's right. I forgot. I keep forgetting. Same thing as the actor. But anyway. Anyway. Well, they both live in Southern California. But it is nice to be back. The Rockies are playing better. Obviously, with the draft coming up, there's a lot of rumors starting to swirl. Will Ethan Holliday drop, which we'll get to a little later. But the headlines about the Rockies are better. One thing I got to say is I do love the fact that Warren Schaefer literally sprinted out of the dugout. The one thing is I can't wait for the ABS system to come to hold umpires on a more accountable state, to a more level of accountability. And the one thing I always hate, and they've been like this for years, I'm sick and tired of the thin skim umpires giving the quick coke when all Tyler Freeman's just didn't yell. I don't think he cursed. But again, I love Warren Schaefer showing some energy and some fire. It's a little bit of a different change. I hope he's back in the dugout, probably not as the manager next year, but at least as one of the members of the coaching staff.
I wouldn't be opposed to him being the manager, to be honest with you, because there's not. I mean, it's the Rockies, right? So we're not going to go out and bring a big name in, and there's not really anybody who would that certain type of person doesn't fit this team right now because they're so young. I think if Warren Schaefer continues to do what he's doing here, he has a pretty good shot of landing the job because he can develop the young players pretty well. He's shown that he can do that throughout his career. You're right, Lux. You're right about that. Yeah, the All-Star voting thing drives me absolutely insane, man. Just stop letting fans vote, period. Like, just put the best players in the game and be done with it. Like, I know people are like, oh, well, we're not, fans aren't going to watch it. Fans would watch the game no matter what, no matter what. It's the best players in Major League Baseball. They're the best players in the world. You're going to watch the game. Like, we don't need to be throwing Max Muncy and Teoscar Hernandez and Andy Pages in the All-Star game because the Dodgers. Like, that's just ridiculous. But yes, the Rockies are playing better. They're actually watchable now, guys, right? Like, you want to tune in and watch Tyler Fay. You want to watch Michael Toglia when he's Michael Toglia again. You want to see Yankeal make his debut. You want to watch Chase Dolander pitch. Like, there's guys in the lineup that we actually want to watch play. Hunter Goodman obviously has been awesome this year. So I still think there's reasons to tune in. It's been a tough year, and obviously my playoff prediction is in jeopardy. Has been since opening day.
I'm sure everybody appreciates the optimism.
Yeah, I mean, well, I really thought that they would have like this baby backs, like the Diamondbacks from a few years ago type of thing happen. But yeah,
I mean, the roster heading into the season wasn't that bad considering. I mean, other than Nick Martini and Kyle Farmer, who's I don't know still on the team, but you had. I mean, I had multiple people comment on our Rockies Now page saying, "I just don't get it. The Rockies, their lineup is actually not too bad, but it's just." The way that things work, I don't know. It's just the schedule makers, they're villains. I don't know. Like who made the schedule for the Rockies this year? Like, is it that? I mean,
sorry, real quick to add to your point, it is also good. This June was their first double-digit win month. May and June. Sorry, June they were 10-16. That's right.
That's a lot better than what it was.
April and May, they only won 4. April, May, they won 4 games each. So we got the 10 wins in a month. So I think that's huge. It's huge progress. And I think right now the current projections is 125 losses right now. I just checked.
Would that be the record?
By 4 games.
I think that's definitely the Rockies could definitely avoid that 100%.
I will say, as a guy who watched the record last year very closely, just paying attention to it, the White Sox had a 12, 14, and a 21 game losing streak. If the Rockies can avoid something like that, you can just kind of ride that wave through it. So,
it'll be close, but I think the Rockies are going to avoid that. They might have like 110, 115, but
we'll
I mean, they have to go on a run.
Yeah, I think if Mike Toglia keeps playing the way he's playing right now, and Doyle starts heating up, which he has. I think if the offense can just get going and play well at home, I think they can avoid it.
Yeah, I just the pitching in general. I mean, Marquez, he's got to be traded. It's just like the Rockies, they don't have. I mean, again, I think Adam, you alluded to, or no, Tom as well. He actually, alluded to before we started that there's a lot of reports saying that a lot of teams are looking on Hunter Goodman. He should not and will not get traded by the Rockies. It's just
there's no way.
There's no. I mean. It's just Drew Romo. He's not a viable option right now. He's hitting under 200. I think he's 100 something. It's really, really bad. He's not an option. The Rockies, they got rid of Willie McIver, who is now with the Athletics. He's doing good. But it's just the Rockies. They don't have a lot of options at catcher. So why trade Hunter Goodman? And why don't you just build around him? I mean, this guy was just drafted a couple years ago. Let him be the catcher for now, and maybe he will be the Rockies' future catcher. We're hoping that Drew Romo turns that corner, but in the meantime, just let Hunter Goodman stay. Build around him. You don't want him to succeed on another team and become a superstar. I mean, Walt Weiss, who was on Drew Goodman's podcast last week, said that Goodman has close to elite power. He reminds him a little bit of Dante Bichette before Bichette came to Colorado. So again, that's a high bar for Dante, right? Or for Goodman to be Dante, right? But I think there's a lot of concern for Romo. So keep Goodman and trade some of the pitchers like Freeland, Marquez, get rid of Senzatella because Palmquist, he's getting better. Dollander, he'll be fine. Again, Dollander's still young, so bring up the young guys, let them pitch, and build a new rotation because it's just this rotation is starting to get old and we need to move on from that.
Yeah, I don't know how the Rockies expect anyone to take them serious when they're rolling Antonio Senzatella out there. Like, I don't care how bad the season is. Like, you have to find a different option. Like, he is just not getting it done, and we're paying, I believe, Tom, you can correct me if I'm wrong, $10 million a year to have an ERA close to 8. Like, that's crazy, man. Like, you're telling me that somebody from the lower levels can't pitch as bad as that? I don't believe that. But we were talking, Tom was talking about, or I think it was Steve, talking about Freeland getting some interest. And as much as we love Kyle Freeland, I think we would like to see him succeed, right, somewhere. I think it'd be cool to get him in a playoff race. You might even unlock early season from this year, maybe 2018 version of Kyle Freeland a little bit if you can get him on a playoff team. So I think that would be cool. I don't know, 12 million. Wow. For Senzatella. Marquez needs to be traded. If you can get someone to take Senzatella, that would be awesome. But for the good of Kyle Freeland's career, just because we love him so much and he's poured so much into the Rockies organization, I think it'd be cool to get him on a playoff contender, as long as the return is right for the Rockies too. But Hunter Goodman is not going anywhere. You can call, but we're hanging up.
Yeah. The Rockies better hang up. And knowing the Rockies, they're loyal to a fault. So, pretty confident that they probably won't. But, then there's some conversations about McMahon. Well, we could trade McMahon. We kind of can't, though, because who's going to play third base? Because, Condon is in Double-A. You do have Sterling Thompson at third base, and he can play third base, and he's in Albuquerque, and he's having a good year. But are you confident that the Rockies can put somebody at third base, plug him in? And I hate saying this, but maybe you should consider trading McMahon because McMahon is bad. Has been horrid this year. Only has like 10 home runs, I think, 9 or 10. Power's horrible this year. Strikeouts is really, really high. Defense hasn't been that great, to be honest with you, compared to last season's or previous seasons. So it's just, what do you do with McMahon? So there are options here. It's a little bit more trickier. I just kind of wish we were at, in 2023 when the Rockies had a bunch of tradable guys like Frone, Grichuk, Pierce Johnson. But unfortunately, there's just not a whole lot of options for the Rockies here. But if you're going to trade guys, first off, trade some of your pitchers because that's got to happen. And Jackson, our guy in the comments, says Herman has a 3.50 ERA in 9 starts with Schaefer and had an 8.27 ERA, Adam, and 8 starts with Bo Black.
That means you trade him. His value's high again. Get rid of him.
Yep, 100%. And the Rockies, they can't sit idly by. Marquez, his extension is, I'm pretty sure that is coming to an end in the next year or two, I think. He was extended a few years back. Senzatella, he was also extended, but I think his extension also ends in the next year or two. It might be next year.
I just put in the private chat. It ends after It ends after next season. There's a 2027 team option.
So just real quick, and I want to let Tom chime in because he hasn't in a while, but this McMahon situation, it's kind of similar to the Marquez situation, right? When the value's high, trade the player, okay? Because then you risk something like this happening. So last year, the value was high on McMahon to start the year, right? and people were calling about him, and then he ended up being terrible in the second half. His value was even higher, 2 years ago? And the Rockies weren't even entertaining the thought, and they were nowhere near winning. This is when good organizations say, okay, the value is high. It's never going to be higher. We need to cash in on this player because he's not part of the future plans. We're not close to winning. Let's go ahead and get some pieces for him. So this is what you're dealing with now with McMahon. His value has now dipped because he's been not very good this year, right? So you could try to trade McMahon, but who's going to want that, his contract's pretty team friendly for, higher payroll teams, but like he hasn't produced enough to be like for teams to be like, oh, we want him, but pitching's a different story because it's always hard to find on the trade market. And if your guy has value now, you need to trade him because then you risk his value coming back down. And then you're stuck with a guy that has an 8 ERA, and you can't move him. So that's my take on that, Tom.
Sorry, I realized I had my mic on mute. No, this was on MLB Network. I think we can agree it's a foregone conclusion. Germán Marquez is going to get traded. It's just a matter of which team. Because the way we look at it, because right now the White Sox are playing the Dodgers, who are stricken for pitching depth, considering they have Snell and Glasnow both on the injured list. That's a lot of money being paid to guys not to pitch. I hope he doesn't go to the Dodgers because I don't want to see him pitch in Dodger blue. But there's always that chance. And as I mentioned in our pre-show meeting, I think it could be. Just for a second, I was looking up Kyle Freeland's splits just to kind of get a gauge as to how he's been doing the last couple of days. He hasn't done awful in the last month. He has a 4.96 ERA in his last 3 starts. It hasn't been horrible. And also just quite about Germán Marquez, I think early in the season, he was not just because of Bud Black. I think he was trying to adjust to the every 5th day routine because it's been about 2.5 years since he's had that schedule. So he was just trying to get his body back into the rhythm of it. Those 2 guys, it wouldn't surprise me if they get traded, and they're guys you can offload. They're both on team-friendly contracts. Germán Marquez, by the way, is a free agent at the end of this season. There's no option, no player, no team option. So he is going to hit the open market. So give the guy a chance to establish his value with a contending team. I think it's a foregone conclusion. He has a couple of Rockies records, including all-time franchise strikeouts. So that's a record that, one particular guy on the team right now, I think could break. I'm not gonna say his name, but knock on wood that he does it. Everybody can glean who I'm talking about from those words. As far as McMahon goes, there are teams that could use him, his defense. Like, for example, somebody brought up, would Brian Hayes be traded because the Pirates are awful? He's doing worse than McMahon. He's doing horrible. I mean, that's a guy who took the Gold Glove from Ryan Mack a couple of years ago. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to maybe eat some of that money to get rid of Ryan McMahon. I know, Steven, you did bring up the fact who's going to play third base. Well, if you get an offer that's worthy the return, and you don't have to eat, and Dick Monfort is okay with eating some money, it wouldn't be a bad idea to pull the trigger. Because
the only thing
last thing I'll say, you don't feel like you have to trade him though.
The thing I'm thinking of goes back to 2022 when they felt like Tovar was like right there, he was getting closer, but they went out and got Jose Iglesias, who he was okay. He wasn't my favorite. I didn't really like him here that much. I mean, other than after, of course, Rockies fashion, leads the Rockies, does really well with the Padres and the Mets. But it's just I wasn't a big fan of his, but the Rockies could do something like that, third base free agency, or sign somebody as a free agent that's right now a free agent third baseman to, I don't know, be a filler until next year. So like Sterling Thompson or Charlie Condon is ready, but I don't think he should be starting. I mean, just given the way things are right now, take your time with Condon, like we've preached about so many times on this podcast. Take your time with him, treat him with kid gloves. Don't do what the Rangers did with Wyatt Langford. Don't do what Christian Moore, I think he's going to be a great player, and I think he's having some nice numbers. But the Angels, they like to call up their players very quickly. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I just feel like the Rockies in the past, they have done a few things like Zach Veen, for instance, called them up, had some flashes right at the end where he got sent down, and he really struggled with mental illness. Shout out to him, for going through that, and now he's starting to get the bat hot again in AAA. I mean, he was one of our players of the game in our recent minor league player posts. So go check that out, by the way. So it just treat Condon with kids' gloves and see other options in the minor leagues. If you don't feel like you have any, then maybe look at free agent third baseman.
Cool. I'd like to
maybe make a trade with have trade McMahon, and then maybe they have a third base prospect that's under the radar. Maybe try him out. I don't know.
I think you're looking at a situation where with this team, we don't really need to cut. We don't need to replace him at third base this year. Kyle Farmer can play third base. Arcia can play this year.
Yeah,
Arcia can play third base. I'm sure Tyro Estrada can play third base. It's not like we're contenders and we need to fill the hole back. You know what I mean? Like, it's nothing like that. It's about getting value back for the future. So if you can find a good trade partner for Ryan McMahon, you can figure this out internally on the existing roster about who's going to play third base the rest of the year. And then hopefully next year at some point, right, we get Kyle Karros, or we've got
that's another name, yeah,
Condon, or we've got Sterling Thompson, right? Like there's names there for next year. I don't think it should be a concern for this year. The concern for this year should be building for next year and getting that value back for Ryan McMahon. Because quite honestly, whether he's playing good or not, he doesn't belong on the team at this point, just because it's not the direction we're going. By the time we're ready to win, he's not going to be part of that plan.
And I think Ryan McMahon was originally going to be a part of that, 2021, 2022 Rocky squad that they were hoping that they were going to try to get into a postseason window. Now that's closed. They're trying to start another one. McMahon is not a part of that. And now it's just testing to see, okay, is Toglia a part of that, which I think he should or could be. Again, still waiting to see if he can figure it out. I don't know how this happens, but Toglia is usually a second half guy. There's a lot of players that are like that, but I agree with Adam here is that McMahon, I think it's time for the Rockies to move on from him. And because again, it's all about that window. Are the Rockies ready to compete right now? No. Why don't you move him off? Let a younger player play at third base, see what he's got. And the Rockies, they do have plenty of third base bright prospects that are coming up. Another name I want to mention who's just got the call up to, I think, Hartford today. Another Rockies call up is Blake Wright, who we got last year. I think out of Clemson, he plays third base. I really like this guy. He's had good numbers so far this year in his first full year. This will be his first full year, but he's already, I think, in Hartford now, which is great. So that's a name to watch. And I think he was if I'm correct, I think he was a late second or early third round pick last year. So keep an eye on him.
Fourth round.
Fourth
round. Okay.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah. But so keep an eye on that. Again, we're kind of in that season. Again, once we get closer to the trade deadline in a few weeks, we'll have another pod. It'll be probably in our mid-season review pod. So stay tuned for that. But Lux here in the comments, he has a couple comments here we want to catch up on. Holliday and Condon would feed families. And why don't we jump right into that? Perfect timing. Thank you, Lux. Go ahead.
Let me just real quick. I'm going to answer this one for you. So, Lux, the reason that they were able to trade Devers so seemingly easily, is because they played on the Giants' desperation for a big time bat. Because if you look at the Giants, they have due to certain factors, it is very difficult for them to attract big time bats, and the Red Sox played on that desperation. That's how they were able to move him.
They should have gotten a better return for him, but yes, that's
well, the big thing was they got all the salary off the books and still got 4 prospects in return. So that's why the pedigree was a little. They accepted a lower pedigree ranking of 4 players and also got the whole contract off the books, which is not a bad play if you're Craig Breslow.
Yeah, and according to some reports I saw, the next day, the team president, the owner, all that, they all went down to the clubhouse and wanted to explain the trade to the players, and the players were like, "We're good. We don't need an explanation," and they were like happy about it.
Because he was not a well-liked guy in that room, and also the Giants aren't playing any better with him.
No, well, and the thing is you don't want Jarren Duran and Christian Campbell and I'm sorry, what's their new outfielder, the Roman Anthony. You don't want those guys around something like that.
Or you mean Marcelo Mayer too?
Marcelo Mayer
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want that around for your young players. So I think it was a good move. I just the return is, but it makes sense based on what Tom said. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. It's gonna be it's gonna be a bang. It's gonna be a banger off season. With free agency and of course with the deadline coming up. Again, there's gonna be a lot of jockeying as we usually see, but I'm like curious to see what some teams like the Braves we were talking about earlier, like what are they gonna do? Like a lot of people are saying that they don't intend on selling, which they definitely should, considering. And Tom pointed out that Chris Sale is what was the wording? What is he gonna get traded, or is the possibility of getting traded?
It is well. We'll have to see how. I think he's going to get a start or two when he comes off the IL because he had a little bit of a rib scare right there, but it's nothing serious from what I hear. But it is a strong possibility depending what the Angels get in. I mean, sorry, not the Angels. Sorry, the Braves get in return.
The Angels go after Chris Sale.
Well, because the big thing is Chris Sale again, reigning Cy Young winner, and in the last 2 months since his rough May, his rough April, he has turned it on. He's back to what he was last year, and he's 36 years old. But I'm not drawing comparisons to my favorite pitcher of all time. I'm seeing Randy Johnson-esque vibes where he's still doing well in the latter part of his career. So, but yeah, Chris Sale, if he's good after the ribs, I think it could be a foregone conclusion that, Lux, as I just said, he is hurt right now. He's still on the IL. We're just waiting for him to come off. So
I think the Cubs have to be at the top of that list, right?
They are. They are. Let me just point out one thing on that note, Adam. There's a prominent Chicago radio personality who is a big Cub fan, has connections with the Cubs. Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins, the GM, they have made multiple calls to the Braves about Chris Sale.
Yeah.
And of course, as I mentioned in the pre-show meeting, they're also talking to the Rockies about Marquez and Freeland too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and then didn't we say already that the Cubs were already having talks with the Rockies about McMahon as well?
They actually had those last year.
Oh, last year. Okay.
No,
so
this year,
there could be a big package here. Like, what if the Rockies and Cubs say, "Hey, let's trade Marquez and McMahon, and we'll get like Cade Horton." I don't know if the Cubs would want to get rid of him though.
Actually, given his
for the Rockies.
Well, he's struggled since they called him up to the majors, so maybe in a different environment he could do better. But you could package, if you trade McMahon, you could package him in with something.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and Dog, I was just thinking, like, imagine it's never going to happen because PCA, he's an all-star this year. Really happy for him. Really, really good defensively. He's made a lot of great plays this year, and I hate saying it, but yes, he could take for PCA. Seems fair.
Lux, thank you.
If only we had a good front office that could do that.
Remember when he was acquired from the Mets? He was not a highly ranked. He was a top. He was a good prospect, but not a great one.
Well, and I remember a huge trade that the Rockies made with the Cubs where they absolutely fleeced the Cubs and they got DJ LeMahieu out of the deal. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can get something like that again. What was it? That was Ian Stewart, right?
Yeah, Ian Stewart. I was about to say that. Yeah, Ian Stewart. And Ian Stewart, after that trade, he just fell off the baseball planet. And Ian Stewart was a great player for the Rockies. He was an underrated guy, and it's just like not a lot of people talked about him. I'll never forget his like at Adam. I think I saw one of your comments. Like his home run against the Red Sox was a
game-tying home run in the bottom of the ninth.
I remember that. I remember listening to the radio on that, dude. It was just, man, he was a great player. But yeah, like I 100% agree. Like the Rockies, they definitely fleeced the Cubs. That's when Dan O'Dowd, Dealin' Dan, as he was called, made trades left and right, and some of them panned out. I mean, even though Jason Giambi trade, wasn't a trade, but Dealin' Dan, he could make some moves, and I kind of wish the Rockies had that. And
that Ubaldo trade was not good.
No, and of course, it's just funny to think about how in 2011 spring training, Ubaldo hit too low, and there was a benches clearing in spring training. I know a lot of diehard Rockies fans have been talking about that. I remember having a conversation with the Indians fan about that not too long ago, but. Anyways, let's get into the meat of the show. So what we're here for tonight is to talk about Ethan Holliday, somebody that we've been talking about for the last year at least. when the rankings for this year were starting to come out. And Holiday, I think, is correct me guys if I'm wrong, but I think Holiday's been number one since last year, like since the first rankings were released.
I believe it was. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, I think since the first not too early rankings were released.
Yeah, because again, well, another name we might quickly mention is Laviolette. He was up there.
He was
up
up
He was like
there.
number
He
two,
was-
number three.
Yeah, number 2 or 3. Yep.
And a lot of people were like, hey, if the Rockies don't get Holiday, again, this was before the lottery happened, and a lot of people thought, hey, the Rockies could get either Laviolette or Holiday. And as we mentioned before we started tonight, that Laviolette has dropped down all the way to, I think what Tom said was 20. Which is, again, and then Adam alluded to that there's a possibility that he could even fall into the second round, and he could be a second round option for the Rockies here. And the Rockies, I think, have, again, I need to double check, but I think it's 30 something or 40 something for the next pick. I think it's got to be 30 because given the numbers and because it's repeating after every 30 teams, right? Every 30 picks, roughly.
I'll check.
So it's got to be the Rockies will have, I think, 32 or 34. It's probably going to be 34 given the numbers, right? So 30 teams and 4. Yeah. So it'd be right around 34. So that would be right at the start of the second round. So the Rockies, they could potentially, and that's one thing that would be really cool to see if they can get Ethan Holiday and Chase Laviolette, which would be awesome. But there's been some mock drafts as we announced, or we kind of announced today on the stories today, that there's been some mock drafts that have Ethan Holiday going to the Rockies. Is that wishful thinking? Maybe, but there's also some realism in that, because according to some sources, and one of them was Grok, and I don't really trust Grok all that much, but given Grok, he pulled in some archives. I asked him a couple questions, and he said that according to different websites and different writers that write for those teams, the Nationals and the Angels are looking heavily at pitching, at Cade Anderson and then Seth Hernandez. And I was kind of interested. I'm like, why not Ethan Holiday? But then at the same time, though, it kind of makes sense. The Nationals, they have a pretty good farm system of players, position players. They do need pitching. Again, they do have some guys like Jackson Rutledge. I think he's is he still a prospect, or is he in the rotation already? I'm not quite sure about that. But the Nationals,
he's still a prospect.
Okay, but they have Mackenzie Gore, and they have several other really intriguing guys in their rotation, and they have a bunch of young arms coming up through the system. So a lot of people are saying they wouldn't be too surprised if the Nationals go out and get another pitcher. And then for the Angels, as we've seen over the last several years, the Angels love to get players that go through the farm system very quickly and make their debut like 2-3 months after the draft. So more than likely, I wouldn't imagine them going after Ethan Holiday. And then you go to the Mariners, and we'll talk about that very quickly. But the Mariners, they love to get pitching. Now, should they get pitching? Absolutely not. They need offense, as we talked about before. But the Mariners, if they go pitcher here, guys, that leaves the Rockies at number 4 for an open door for them to go out and get Ethan Holiday. And there might be a chance here that some of these teams are like, well, we don't want Ethan Holiday to be like Jackson, where he's not very good the first year or the first how many months. So we're going to pass on Holiday. He's a high school player, a little bit more risk there. We're going to go with the safe bet by going college pitcher or the shortstop. Again, I forget his name. But that's a possibility. So there's a possibility here that the Rockies do get Ethan Holiday. But again, if there's a team that's going to go out and get Ethan Holiday, it's going to be the Nationals, I feel like. Where I feel like the Angels and the Mariners will more than likely pass on Holiday. So there's a chance here. I would probably say maybe 50% chance here that the Rockies do land Holiday. But if they don't, I think we can all agree that they definitely should go after college arms, which, again, we talked about in our group chat a little bit ago, that there's no way the Rockies should and will draft any high school players other than Ethan Holiday. And I think if they're not gonna be able to get Holiday, 100% should be looking at Liam Doyle out of Tennessee or Jamie Arnold. And I think more than likely, given the Rockies, I think the guy that they should be looking at is Liam Doyle. And I think Tom alluded to that he has a splitter apparently and a really good fastball. And I think even a slider too. Reminds me a little bit of a John Gray, but Doyle's a left-handed pitcher, which, hey, if the Rockies trade Kyle Freeland, why not bring another lefty in that rotation? And that's one thing the Rockies definitely could use. And one thing that the Rockies have not had in their history of the franchise is a lot of left-handed pitchers. And a lot of them, Tom, have had good success. Kyle Freeland when he was younger, Jorge De La Rosa.
Jeff
Francis was game 1 of the World Series. Really good curveball. I'll never forget 2007 NLDS game 1 against the Phillies. Curveball was elite. So that's what the Rockies need. They need another left-handed pitcher. They have enough righties. They have a lot of them. Jackson Cox is the guy that is coming up through the system that we drafted a couple years ago. So why not get Liam Doyle if you can't get Holliday? And in regards of a lot of people saying, well, what about Seth Hernandez or Cade Anderson? Those are very risky. Well, of course, Hernandez, high school pitcher, that's almost an immediate no. Just brings flashbacks of Riley Pint. Again, really solid talent, really good arm, a lot of life on his fastball. I think that's what he has. And then Cade Anderson. This was a guy that I was looking at previously up until I saw that he has injury history. Tommy John a couple years ago. That's immediate no, especially at Coors Field. So the safest bets for me, if I'm the Rockies, is for pitchers at least, is Liam Doyle and Jamie Arnold. So and both are lefties, and I really like those arm slots that are in the draft this year, because other than that, there's a lot of high school players here, and there's also a chance the Rockies do go under slot and go somebody closer down the list at like 20 or 25 or whatever. But again, the Rockies, I don't know. It will be interesting to see. And this is the one thing that I wish baseball could do, and maybe they'll talk about it in the next CBA, is being able to trade draft picks. That should 100% be able to happen. It's more exciting that way. It gives you an advantage. It gives teams advantages, and I think it should happen. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think it's the only draft in professional sports where you cannot trade any draft picks. Am I right? Because of the NHL, you can do it. I'm pretty sure. I think NBA,
NFL you definitely can, and NBA of course.
So baseball they have to do it, and they could do it maybe in the CBA. So hopefully we see that, because if that was a thing, the Rockies could trade like McMahon, Freeland, and Marquez for a number 1 pick and get a solid Ethan Holliday. But yeah, I mean I don't necessarily. I know a lot of people were upset about the lottery. While it was upsetting that we didn't get number 1, which is kind of stupid because just we were the worst team next to the White Sox last year, but I still think it's kind of interesting. I mean, it was still kind of frustrating that the Angels, got number 2, the Nationals got 1, and then
Mariners are 3rd. That's crazy.
It's ridiculous, and yeah, so I don't know, but it'll be something to watch. So, guys, first off, Tom, what do you think about it? What do you think of some names the Rockies are looking at right now?
Well, like you said, Jamie Arnold, as we talked about, he's a 3-pitch pitcher. I don't know if he has any interest in developing a 4th pitch, because, and there are 3 of the most common pitch. It's the most common pitch arsenal you'll see nowadays, which is the 4-seamer, the slider, and the changeup. Now, as I've talked to you off camera about this, Dan O'Dowd was on Foul Territory recently, and of course, there are certain breaking ball pitches that do work or don't work flawlessly, but they tend to favor more when it comes to going back and forth between altitude. I want to see pitchers who keep the ball down. Now, granted, I love it when guys can do good on strikeout numbers at Coors Field, but the objective should be to induce soft contact in the air and keep the ball on the ground. Sinkers, 2-seamers, cut. One of my favorite pitches, the cutter. And if you have a fastball, don't live too low up in the zone. Don't stick to that upper 3rd quadrant. Keep it above the strike zone to induce either weak contact or, of course, the strikeouts. And easier said than done. But now, to your point about Liam Doyle, I like him specifically. Of course, Volunteer. That's we got pretty good repertoire with drafting Tennessee Volunteers. But I like him. He does have, not only does he have a 75 grade fastball, but he has a 55 grade slider, cutter, and splitter. As we kind of talked about in our podcast with Kay Denton, a splitter is, of course, it's a low spin pitch. To people who don't, when you split your fingers, you want to keep your list rock and let it float off your fingers. If you want a great example, watch Shohei Ohtani. He has a fantastic splitter that is not talked about and not talked about enough, in my opinion, nowadays when it comes to talking about him as a pitcher. People talk about his fastball, talk about his slider, blah, blah, blah. But that's the thing. So if you want me to go between, again, I don't mind Doyle right now. Hold on, let me go back up to my notes here. He is currently spotted at right now ranked number 8. And of course, everyone's talking about Jamie Arnold at 4 because that's where the Rockies are picking. People want to talk about drafting a bat. There are other bats that we can go for later in the round, such as in our pre-show meeting, I talked about the second base from Tennessee, from
Gavin.
Yeah, correct.
Gavin Kylan.
Gavin Kylan. And the reason I like guys like that is we talked about it, and I made point of it. I want guys who have the keen hand-eye coordination hit tool. Power is something we don't need to have an abundance of. We need guys who can induce contact, get on base, be pesky on the base pass, and at the same time move runners over. You want guys in contact in the 2 hole or in the 7th or 8 hole to move the runners and turn the lineup over. A guy like him from a pretty good program, I shouldn't say pretty good, an excellent program like Tennessee would be an excellent option to go forward because, again, power is great to have, especially at Coors Field, but why not play a little bit of small ball up and down, especially in the bottom third of the lineup? And there's one other guy I was also, I'm trying to find who it was.
Yeah, one of the names that was on my list was, this was a couple of weeks ago, out of UC Santa Barbara, Tyler Brenmer. He's number 18. That could be an option too.
Oh, yeah. I was going to talk about Jace Laviolette a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, if, again, as I noted in the notes, the Rockies aren't picking again until 45. Guys do slide, guys do slip. There was a particular... Oh, yeah, it was the Georgia Tech shortstop Kyle Lotus. He is currently ranked number 79. The Rockies picked 74. He is somebody, not just saying we should lose faith in Ezekiel Tovar, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a guy who is athletic as he is, coming out of a good program like Georgia Tech. Again, Charlie Blackman's alum. So, it's something I think we should, because we got a glutton of outfielders in the system. Why not try investing more in our infield?
Yeah, I mean, again, there was another name I was looking at here, but I think that's the thing too. There's so many names that we might be missing out and not be talking about the player the Rockies actually have an eye on, unless of course we already know that the Rockies' number 1 guy is Ethan Holliday. If he's there, the Rockies are picking him up, and I'm sure the Rockies are making conversation, making phone calls daily. And I don't know, did you guys see the picture where Ethan Holliday and Matt Holliday went to the Angels and the Nationals game the other day? And they were both at the game, and Matt Holliday, somebody was joking that Matt Holliday looks like he's like, I don't want my son to play for either both teams, for the Nationals or the Angels. It's like, hey, maybe Matt Holliday wants the Holliday tradition of being in the Rockies organization, and the Rockies could use a guy like Holliday. I mean, any team, really, all 30 teams could use a guy like Holliday, man.
Was Scott Boras with him?
No, I don't know.
I don't think the possibility of Matt Holliday wanting his son to play for the Rockies is very high. Yeah. But I will say that, well, just based on how it ended with Matt Holliday, right? I know he came back and stuff, but like, the way the Rockies are going right now, I'm not sure I would want my son to play for the Rockies. You know what I mean? Like if I was in his shoes. So like, I don't know. I just want to address the Holiday thing because I just don't see a scenario where the Nationals look at this and they see these pitching prospects who are good. They're good, man, but they're not like
elite.
They're not like Chase Burns good. You know what I mean? Like they're not like that kind of good.
Well, Chase Burns did get he's been off to a little bit of a rough start, but
there's coming into the draft though, like there's nobody with that kind of stuff in my opinion in this draft. Like these pitchers are good, but they're not good enough to pass Ethan Holliday. They're just not. So the Nationals would have to be out of their minds to not take him. And yes, they do have a stacked farm, but then that's why you stack your farm even more. And then when you're ready to win, you go trade those guys and get some pitching. I love the excitement surrounding Ethan Holliday. I just don't see it happening. I really don't. I like slipping all the way to 4 with the Rockies.
That would
I
be a
think the-
steal of the
I think
century.
I think the Rockies are going to have to set their eyes on pitching.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just how it goes. And I'm on the Doyle train personally with that pick right there. Anderson with the injury history and Hernandez being a high school pitcher. I want no part of either one of those players, although they're very good players.
Yeah.
But if Holliday's there at 4, of course the Rockies are going to take him. There's no question. But what do we actually think the percentage is that the chance of him being there is? I would say like 20%, 25%. It's not very high, guys.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Paul Skeens. It's like the Pirates are not going to pass on Paul Skeens. Like, come on, like
they're going to put Cruz and they're going to put Holliday together, and they're going to package that as a, the future of their franchise.
Yeah. But and Dylan Cruz is he's gonna be awesome. I mean, he's gonna be a superstar. But yeah, I agree with you. Again, our predictions, our mock draft predictions won't come out for another couple weeks, and we're not gonna announce them tonight. But yeah, I would say that are the chances high for Holliday? Not really. It's more 50-50 for me at least. Maybe like 40% or something. But again, you'll have to wait and see once we make our final predictions in a couple weeks. And by the way, just again, we'll announce it, and we'll probably announce it again over Instagram and X. But we're going to be live for the draft for the first, I think, 10 picks. First 10, 15 picks. So fortunately, that's a little bit faster than the NFL draft, which takes like forever. Just to go through the first 5 picks is like insane. Kind of wish it was like the NBA where it's just like boom, boom, and picks are going off like that. But we're gonna do that.
Are getting drafted during Taco Bell commercials.
Yeah, Nikola Jokic, the best player in the world. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. Again, that'll be on draft day. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Tom and we had a blast last year. Had a lot of people come in, and it was really, really cool. So I hope you guys join us for that. But yeah, again, stay tuned for the draft, and we'll have our predictions coming out soon. Again, as we start to wrap things up, there's a couple of quick things we want to talk about very quickly today. Again, this might be out of order, but today the Rockies announced the jersey patch partnership with what was the name again? I completely forgot.
Who cares? I'm just kidding.
Honestly, it's
York Space or something.
Yeah, right. York Space. I'm like, okay. Well, at first I thought if the Rockies were ever going to go for a patch, it would be like King Supers or something, because the Rockies are some way. Because again, like whenever you get gas, there's always like something like, hey, we're partners of the Rockies or whatever, or Broncos or something like that, or UC Health or what's another, like Taco
UC Health
Bell
would have made sense.
UC Health would make sense. And so or kids, the kids hospital. I don't know. It's just but this one was out of the left field. I'm like, okay. I mean, it makes I guess if it's from Denver, it makes sense, but as Adam commented on our Instagram, it's Dick Monfort's losing money, man. So it's just like he's got to invest in space, and we had a lot of really cool comments from a lot of fans saying, "Can we send the Monforts to space?" So
all in favor.
Whatever.
I.
But yeah, so it's whatever. I really, well, at least the patch is kind of like following the jersey color, like the black and silver white. I'm okay with that, because
it's not like the Mariners
where it's red and
switch.
It's just like does not make any sense. So and at least the patch for the Rockies is smaller. It's not like a giant patch like the Mariners or the Padres Motorola patch. It's like
the Mariners patch is literally taller than the letters.
It's like the entire sleeve
of their
almost.
jersey.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's just some background for those who don't know. It's because that's where Seattle's where Nintendo America headquarters is.
They could have done Boeing.
Yeah, but they don't need a patch this big, regardless.
Well, again, because you got to fit the 2 in there instead of just switch. You got to fit the 2 that they made so big in there.
I'm totally against branding of the uniforms.
The NBA did it then. MLB is just following suit.
Yeah.
This is the problem. Like, these owners make tons of money. They don't put any of that money into the team, but they want the team to wear a patch.
Monfort. Yeah, like
why don't you just worry about putting a competitive team together instead of making more money? Yeah.
With something that's never in the history of the organization never been affiliated with the Rockies until now. Like, okay. Like Coors would have made sense than York Space thing, whatever. It would have been Coors. I mean, like Coors literally owns the stadium, right? Like the CEO of Coors still owns the stadium. So it's like, or he has naming rights. I should say. Not he doesn't own the stadium. Naming rights is what I meant. But it's okay. It's like whatever.
I just miss when sports were sports, dude.
And
Like
not
didn't
sponsored or bet like 365.
I didn't see a Bet 365 commercial every time between innings. Like I don't care about betting. I don't care about sponsorships. I just want to watch the game.
Yeah. I mean, if baseball fans like it, hey, good for you. Good for you. But it's not for us. Especially when like you're the worst team ever so far in the history of baseball, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go for the sponsorship. It's like, okay, that's cool, but what about when you try to improve the product on the field? How about we doing that first? And then we'll talk about jersey sponsorships.
Did they announce it on the social media page? The Rockies?
Yeah, they did.
Oh man, I bet they got roasted.
Good. Roast them more.
Yeah, that's something you just don't really need to announce on it. Put it on a story on Instagram.
Yeah, not like a post because it's just like you already know what's going to happen. And it's just like, hey, but hats off to the Rockies social media team. Let's give them that. Like,
Oh no, they're awesome. They're
awesome. Great. I mean, you remember like 2017, 2018 when they were elite. Like they were, and I'll never forget 2020 when their first game in the Rangers' new ballpark, they literally put like a barn on it, and then they put the Rangers logo. Do you remember that, Tom? Adam?
I do
that was elite, and then Major League Baseball said, "Hey, that's inappropriate. You need to take it down," and they should have kept it up.
The thing I missed the most from that season and the following season was whoever was doing the video, the on-field video.
Yeah,
he or she would set up the camera at the end of the victory, and they do the line high fives. And of course, you catch Gerardo Parra always, knocking on the coaches on the head with a glove.
I was just gonna say Gerardo Parra always did something funny, man.
No, he would.
Cargo and Parra were like
with one coach. Close. He would do the top. He would do the Top Gun, and then he'd take his glove and go with another coach like this. In a playful. I'm not saying in a rude manner to people listening. No, it was a playful manner. He was the jokester at the clubhouse. Man. Plus, remember, Baby Shark.
Oh man, dude, he was one of the only really one of the reasons why the Nationals won the World Series in 2019.
He was a huge contributor.
And so it's so cool that he's a first base coach now over there. But like as somebody said, I'd love to have Parra back and be part of this coaching squad. Cargo, Parra, bring them all in. Like help Warren Schaefer out. Like that would be a good coaching bench. Like and I think I was talking was it yesterday, Tom, that we were talking that like Bill Schmidt, again, we're kind of getting a side topic here. I guess we could quickly talk about Warren Schaefer in the front office here very quickly before we start wrapping things up. But is this like, and here's a question for you, Adam, is this it for Bill Schmidt? Is he going to get fired? Should he get fired? And my answer is yes, 100% he should be fired. Like you wait till the draft and then fire him. Like again, Bill Schmidt is great at, drafting and being a scouting, but he should no way be a GM of the Rockies. Like 100% should not be a GM. And again, I know Lux wants us to talk about Walker Monfort here. But it's just, there's no way that Bill Schmidt should be the current GM.
So do I think he's going to get fired? No, of course not. This is the Rockies we're talking about. Do I think he deserves to be the GM of the Rockies? Absolutely not. So here's the thing, right? When it comes to the Monfort's comments, right? Charlie saying, we need to bring outside eyes into the organization and give somebody else a chance. And then Dick agreed with him. Was it lip service? Or were you guys, do you guys actually believe that? Because I don't know. I don't know if there's a genuine bone in Dick Monfort's body, if I can put that as politely as possible. I don't think that they're actually going to bring in anyone from the outside. I really don't. I think they're going to hire Warren Schaefer as the manager, which isn't a bad thing because I think he's a good manager. I think Schmidt or some other friend of the Walker Monfort might be the GM next year. Who knows, man? At this pace, but like, are they going to go to the Rays or the Brewers or to the Tigers right now? One of those teams and say, hey, how do you guys do it? Hey, who from your front office can I hire to be my GM or my president of baseball operations? Do you actually think the Rockies are going to do that? No. So is Bill Schmidt going to be employed by the end of the year? Yeah, he will be. Yeah. I mean, until the Rockies start showing us different, I don't have any reason to believe that.
Yeah, like I agree with Lux. Like you don't have to fire Bill, just have him be scouting, but do scouting. Like he was excellent. I mean, he was the guy that found Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, Troy Tulowitzki, Todd Helton, I think, as well. So it's just why not?
Okay, but how much worse does it get after this?
Right.
Who's the next friend in line? That's my question.
Well, the funny thing is, was it like a month or two ago? There was an article saying like, was it 90? I think Mike Kliss talked to Bill Schmidt and he was like, hey, so how the Rockies tried going outside for outside help, any ideas, that sort of thing. And Bill Schmidt was like, yeah, well, we did get somebody from outside the organization. And he said, Clint Hurdle. that they consider that outside. I'm like, it's guys. He managed here for a lot of years, then went to Pittsburgh, then came back, and he was in here for a couple years. You still consider that outside help?
He's been a consultant for years, dude.
So it's I like again. I think it's lip service, very much lip service.
Yeah,
it won't be lip service until they actually do something. Until they actually say, "Hey, we're bringing in somebody from the Rays or from the Rangers,
Guardians,
which the Rockies they've done a lot of trades with them, and the Bill Schmidt, formerly with the Indians organization years ago, just do something. Do something, man. Just don't bring anybody that has like Mozeliak, please no, or Dipoto, please no. Like,
oh no, Dipoto is terrible. He's terrible.
Like but given the Rockies, they probably do something like that, and they say, hey, we got somebody from outside the organization. But again, it's nepotism at its finest in Colorado, and with Walker Monfort, listen, I think I told this to Tom yesterday, but I'm willing to give Walker Monfort a chance because, again, you look at the father and son business in baseball, especially or in life. Is the son usually exactly like the father? No. So that gives me a little hope. Maybe Walker Monfort, if he does eventually take the role as the owner or whatever, or baseball operations, maybe he would be like, hey, my dad did this, but I'm going to try something different that we haven't done at all. I'm going to try to do this. That's the best scenario for the Rockies. The worst case scenario is like, you know what? It's just all for money grab. Get people in the seats, sell beer, and then call it a day.
Lose games.
Yeah. So, yeah. And yeah, so that's what we're hoping for. And listen, I've heard Walker Monfort is a really nice guy. Again, I've heard all the Monforts are really nice. Great. But then they're great business people. But when it comes to baseball, they should have no reason to be in the front office or, be in this team. They need, like, again, we keep preaching on it. President of baseball operations, please. That's the most important thing this team needs to right now. I would argue, say it's other than Dick Monfort selling the team, president of baseball operations, because the Rockies are the only team in baseball that does not have a president of baseball operations.
And the smallest analytics department
in baseball. And while it's grown, quote, grown, it's still years away from reaching the next team that has the whatever number it is. I have, like, the Dodgers have multiple hundreds of people in their analytics department. The Rockies, I think, had only like 11 or 12, which is insane. Where I think a couple years ago when Jeff Bridich was still here, there was like only one person in analytics. That's just ridiculous.
So I thought
it was less than 10.
It was less than 10.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to say this. I've said this before. Whatever happens with the Rockies, the owner should do exactly what the Walton Penner Group is doing with the Broncos. You come in, you own the team. That's all you do. You let people do their job. You bring in baseball people. You let them do their thing. And you say, we're the owners. We're going to spend the money to get you to where you want to go. But we're not going to make the decisions. We're going to bring in baseball people who know what they're doing. And they're going to let them do their thing. And look at the Broncos, dude. They're about to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years after being atrocious for a decade. Like that's the thing about a good owner. And this is the thing with MLB. This is an issue league wide. Unlike any of the other leagues, we just have owners that just straight up don't care. They just do not care about winning. They don't care about putting a winning product on the field. They don't care about their fans. All they care about is making more money. And the thing that really bothers me about these people is if they fielded a team that won games, they would make even more money than they are now. So it doesn't make sense to have the mindset that they do. But just bring in baseball people, sell the team to somebody who, I mean, I would love if the Walton Penner Group would buy the Rockies. That would be a dream
or
come
the
true.
Cronkies. I mean, I know there's a lot of, up in our, like, well, dude, look at the Nuggets, man. They've completely done stuff within 2 days, less than 2 days, and they already look like a championship.
They're the favorites in the West again.
It's just like, that's how you do things. That's how you do things, man.
And the Avalanche too.
Avalanche, man, they made trades. They're making moves that actually make sense. And one thing that's just frustrating, just the other day, Joe Rock made his major league debut for the Rays. We traded him, and then we got Greg Jones, who's not even
not even on the team. Nope.
It's frustrating, man. It's just
during
like
a time when we needed pitching.
That's the frustrating thing. And it's just like Joe Rock was supposed to be the next Kyle Freeland, if not better than that. And he had a really good arm slot. And listen, we still have Carson Palmquist. I get it, but why? Like, it was questionable at first. And I'm like, okay, Greg Jones, good. He was drafted in the first round by the Rays. The Rays have good draft history, but it's just, what are we doing? And it's just like, well, Greg Jones was a bench guy. We didn't keep him for a full year, and he's out. It's just like,
they called him up just to say, hey, this was a good trade, and then they thought we would forget, but no.
That tells you the difference between the Rays front office, and here they can't get any fans in the stadium, and yet they have a better analytics department, better front office than the Rockies do. So it's just like, can we have something both? And I know, and sometimes in baseball you can't have both, but it's just like, why not though?
Well, they have the Rays, as we know, they're one of the most progressive teams in baseball. They've embraced the times. They've also mastered some new age methods.
And here's the thing, though: the Rays are going to get better because they're going to sell a team, and they're going to get good owners, and they're going to be elite. I mean, aren't they in like first place or second place already?
Well, the issue is, of course, the first thing foremost, the best part about this new ownership is they want to build in Tampa, not in St. Pete's.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You need to, first of all, that ballpark is not usable anymore. You have maybe about 6 months of using it. That's it. So once Stuart Sternberg finally is out of the picture, I can't remember the name of the new owner. I can't remember the name of the guy who's buying the team. Moving to Tampa is going to be the key. But to the Rockies' point, this is the thing. There's one of two ways this gets fixed. Option number one, ownership change not happen anytime soon. The point is, if you want to embrace the times, you need to invite people from the outside. I said this I commented this on here. The only way is the entire executive office gets overturned. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, unfortunately, when you deal with Major League Baseball sports owners, you're dealing with octogenarians who think they know everything about every single industry because, again, whether they inherited their money like John Fisher did, or they went out and worked for it like the Monfors did when they built their own fortune. The point is, this team needs to get as many ideas from outside as possible. I mean, Adam, you commented when you go talk to people in the Guardians, the Brewers, the Rays, name the team that's, of course, has a very smart new age way of thinking. Get as many ideas, even if you don't hire that candidate, and you need to give that person full autonomous authority to do what they want within the front office. Now, I'll give Jerry Reinsdorf credit on one thing. With the White Sox and hiring Chris Getz, he gave Getz the rope he needed to make some changes.
And the White Sox are going to sell the team soon.
No, they're not.
Eventually,
they have an agreement to sell the team in 4 years or in 8 years. It depends. The contract is different to settle it, but there's going to be new ownership, and I know that Ishbia has his fingerprints on this new way moving forward. But for the Rockies specifically, they need to get as many outside ideas as possible because you have said, Steven, mom and pop shop, that doesn't always lead to more wins.
Good for business.
It never does.
No. Like, just like follow what the Nuggets do, Avs do, Broncos do. I mean, the Broncos, they were 9 years in football. That's a lot.
Atrocious.
They were horrible. They had
boring to watch. They couldn't score.
Horrible defense.
Well, I just remember this one. You guys may be able to name the news station that does. I think it was the CBS affiliate in Denver. The sports guy, I can't remember his name. He made a pitch or some kind of presentation that encouraged the Waltons to buy the Rockies.
That was Lionel Bienvenu from 7 News.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah, I'm sure there are definitely baseball executives out there saying, hey, you know, there might be some that say, I don't want to go Coors Field or Colorado because it's Coors Field or Dick Monfort. But I'm guarantee you there's some that are like, hey, I'm ready for the challenge. I want to be in Colorado. But yeah, as Tom says, it's money.
Oh, there's
Right.
somebody who's under a president or under a GM in another organization that if the Rockies called and said, hey, we want to hire you as the GM, they would jump.
That's the thing. There's only 30 Major League Baseball general manager jobs, and regardless of the team, any driven executive will jump at the opportunity. And also, that's the thing. Dick Monfort is, if you're not afraid to pay top dollar for a player, you can't be afraid to pay top dollar for a top executive candidate.
If you're willing to pay money for a partnership with a space thing, whatever, then you should be willing to invest in the team and bring somebody inside the organization. But he's just like he said, I remember a couple years ago on opening day, again, we got to get out of here, but he said, I remember Dave Logan asked him on the radio on opening day. He's like, you know, have you thought about if you were to sell a team, what would it feel like if the Rockies won a World Series without you? He said, I'd feel sad because he, you know, and this is again, Dick Monfort's a person. He has a heart. Dick Monfort wants to win in Colorado. He really does. He wants to win a World Series in Colorado, and he wants to be the guy behind it. But it's not going to happen.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
He has no clue.
Happen.
Never going to happen. And it's just like it's a lot of what ifs. What if we do this? What if we do that? And it's just like, dude, it's not going to happen. You have to, you know, get off your ego chair. Give somebody the reins of being the team, of controlling the team as a president of baseball operations, which the Rockies had, and Kelly McGregor, who actually was a guy that knew his stuff. He lived, breathed baseball.
With him. Yeah.
And the Rockies, like again, 2010, they were this close from making the playoffs, and I feel like they had a window open, but then when things happen, it's just like it crumbled. And I think the Rockies, it's going to be hard, and they need to get back up there.
Well, and Steven, it wouldn't take a lot to turn this franchise around. It really wouldn't. Like, you're telling me that hitters wouldn't want to play at Coors Field if the Rockies were a reputable organization?
I mean, 2018 wasn't that long ago, and we won 92 games, and so winning can happen here despite the ownership. It just, maybe it was luck, I don't know, or maybe it was just because we had good players.
No,
we were good, and so can it happen again? Absolutely. It's just right now we want to see some changes, and if not, just try to do something different. Try something else. Because if you don't, it's going to be a little bit longer. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see a postseason window, which, again, I still feel like it's still out there. It's just that we can bring it even closer if we start making moves like now, like start making trades, be creative. The Rockies are not creative. And see, I will say this, though. The trade for Nolan Jones, that was a little bit creative. I liked it a little bit. At first, it was like, wait a second, what are we doing with Nolan Jones? But then you look at Tyler Freeman, who, again, he's been doing well this year.
Way better than Nolan Jones this year.
And he's doing way better than when he was in Cleveland. And he's getting on base. Yeah, it doesn't a lot of power, but he's not a power guy. He's an on-base guy.
That's what you need.
That's what you
need at Coors Field.
You need guys that hit doubles and triples, and that's what the Rockies need to go after. Again, go after a guy like Michael Kadire of that guy, or because Kadire could hit. Again, we made a post about a random Rocky that you kind of miss. For me, it was Michael Kadire because this guy could hit. Jeff Cirillo. I mean, Juan Pierre was another. I mean, he was more of a defensive guy, but Juan Pierre, like, he was a Rockies legend. Bring guys like that into the organization, not like we're gonna bring in Harold Castro or Jake Cave. Like, none of that, guys. Like, come on. Like, we want guys that have had, that knows that could succeed at Coors Field, that can hit doubles, that, it doesn't have to be power, just get a good hitter, so
it's just the thing that you brought up just now. Did we luck into it? That's the kind of mindset that Monfort has. He's like, we'll probably just luck into it every 6 years. We'll make the playoffs and I'll be happy with it. You have to go out and make it happen. Dude, we are in a division, at least for now, with the Dodgers, the most elite franchise in Major League Baseball. And they're not going anywhere anytime soon. There's Freeman and Betts and all those guys. They're in like the prime of their career. They got Ohtani. They're going to sign everybody until, the end of time. They're going to make a trade for a center fielder at the deadline. They're going to make a trade for 2 or 3 pitchers. Like, this is just what they do. And if you want to sit there and cry about, oh, well, it's unfair. We're the Dodgers, you've got to put your money where your mouth is, dude. And you need to put guys in the front office that know what they're doing. And you need to allow them to create a baseball team for us because we deserve that. We deserve that as Colorado Rockies fans. We really do.
100%. Yeah. Trying to think. Are there any other topics that we could quickly talk about?
Tom had something.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't. Oh no, I didn't have anything. There.
No. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
No, it's okay. I just think, based on the fact that it's a tough division that we're in, but hey, if the White Sox can come back and now rise in some of the teams that are still above 500. I mean, look at this. I will say this. Again, I lived through misery last year, and I'm living through it again this year with my other team. I will say this. Even though we have at the end of the season, we will have hit rock bottom at this point, regardless if we break the record or not, regardless, we're at rock bottom. We can also, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. We can only go anywhere but up. But the way this is, again, maybe there is that one person within the organization who can convince the Monforts to say, listen, what you're doing is wrong. This is broken. We got to change. We got to try something different to fix it.
It seems like it's Charlie. It really does.
Maybe. You never. Maybe. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, today's his birthday, so happy birthday, Charlie Blackmon.
No, I meant Monfort.
Oh, Charlie Monfort. At first I was like, hey, there's a plug in there.
He's
Charlie Blackmon's in the Rockies front office, so maybe you have Charlie Blackmon take over.
Well, that's just another. This is just another example of the Rockies nepotism. What is he doing in the front office? Like, he's a great player.
I think he's a scout. I think he's a scout. I think
scout. What?
Yeah, I think something like that in Atlanta, because I think he says when the Rockies were playing in Atlanta. I don't know.
Like, he's done playing. He was a great player. Should he be in a front office? What are his credentials?
Yeah.
Like that. These are the questions that somebody has to come in and ask. You bring somebody in from the Rays, and they're like, why is Charlie Blackmon in your front office? What has he ever done in an MLB front office? This is the kind of stuff that has to go. And
maybe they were trying. Maybe they were trying to do something like what the Giants with Buster Posey, but like the Giants immediately had Buster Posey become like a.
The president, he's a president.
Yeah, like if the Rockies were like, "Hey, we're gonna have Charlie," that's kind of bold to do.
Goodness.
But yeah,
I mean, it's almost as bad as Derek Jeter being CEO of the Marlins.
Yeah.
All of this is nightmare fuel, just so you guys know. Charlie Blackmon as the president of baseball operations, I would throw something through a window. I'll tell you what.
Or Clint Hurdle.
Because again, just because you know how to play, just because you know how to play your position well and hit very well in the batter's box does not translate to you as a talented baseball executive. No, I'm not trying to be mean to Charlie, but nothing could beat Derek Jeter being elevated all of a sudden the CEO of the Miami Marlins. Yeah. I'm a shortstop. I don't know how to run a baseball team.
Yeah, and this is the thing too. People fans do this in every sport. Bronco fans, let's bring Peyton Manning in as the offensive coordinator. Based on what? Based on what? He's never been an offensive coordinator. Yeah. Oh, let's make Charlie Blackmon the manager. How? He's never managed a team in his life.
I'd rather have Tony Walters as the manager. No offense.
Yeah,
because catchers
are good managers.
We just need to move into a completely different direction with the Rockies. But I will say this before we go.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys will be there. I have the honor of being at the Rockies and White Sox this Friday for the fireworks. So I will be there, Rockies fans. If you want to come say hey.
Yeah.
Not really the matchup you would want for fireworks night, but hey, maybe it'll be like a 20-17 kind of game because they're evenly matched. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, the Rockies, here's what a lot of people talk about on our Instagram page. The Rockies generally win on holidays. They won on Father's Day. They won on Mother's Day. They always win on a holiday, and they won last year on 4th of July against the Brewers. So more than likely, the Rockies are going to win, Adam, when you go there, and you're going on 4th of July night, right?
Yeah, and they always win when I go too.
Yeah, so they're a guaranteed win.
They beat the Yankees when I went.
Yeah, they won against the Athletics when Dollander got his first start.
Yeah, they sure did.
When the White Sox, in my experience with these two teams playing each other, especially at Coors Field, there's always that one great game. Kyle Freeland's near a no-hitter for the White Sox. Jose Abreu having a 3-home run game in Coors Field.
Yeah, when I went to the White Sox and Rockies game 2 years ago, Eleris Montero at Coors Field had a really good game, and we won that game like 10-4, I think. It was a rainout game, but it was a really good game. I don't know why. It's just like whenever, I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's an omen. Like, hey, we need to start going to Rockies and White Sox games a little bit more.
Quick question:
yeah.
Are they gonna wear the 4th of July hats with the City Connect jerseys?
That okay. This is what I think.
It's a Friday game, so they're gonna be wearing City Connect.
Here's what I think they'll do, because last year, like, I went to the Todd Helton like retirement game, like where they retired his number again in the Hall of Fame. Originally, it was a City Connect game, but they wore their home white uniform. So I have a feeling they're probably not going to wear their City Connects on Friday. They might, but they're probably going to wear their home whites and then wear the blue hats. Because if they wore the 4th of July hats with the City Connects, that would look kind of, I don't know. It would be off. It would be off-putting.
I don't think MLB's going to let them do that.
No. So
I don't see a lot of teams wearing their alternates typically on 4th of July, right?
I posted this the last couple of years. You remember before we went to Nike, Majestic, which were the best baseball jerseys ever, they had like the red lettering, like the Rockies. Remember? That was perfect. Bring that back,
dude. Yeah, I know. I've been saying that. Like, make
Mother's Day was purple. Mother's Day was purple text. Father's Day was blue. And then Memorial Day or like whatever, it was like
the camo.
Dude. What happened? Like, we lost so much aura, as the kids say these days. So much aura, and now we're here. I mean, the nice thing is, though, the City Connects, at least they're a little bit more creative. But like, why not go back to that? But
they make so much money selling those jerseys, dude.
So,
but anyway, sorry.
We'll have fun. We'll have fun on 4th of July. Make sure at your barbecue, watch some baseball. Rockies baseball as the Rockies beat the White Sox.
And come say hi to me.
Sorry, Tom. Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. The one team is going to win the series. I don't see it being a sweep for either side.
We need this more than the White Sox, Tom. Sorry.
we both need it.
Yeah, but we're trying not to set a record this year. So
I know. Well,
is it a 3-game series or 4-game series?
It's 3.
Oh, if it was 4, if the Rockies could sweep and then have both the White Sox and Rockies tie the record. That could happen. I don't know.
If that were to happen, you see 2 teams with a tie, the worst. I'll go. You've got God. The universe really hates me if that happens. The universe really hates me.
Oh man, but yeah,
the baseball gods are striking me down.
All of us, man. But anyways, make sure you have some fun on 4th of July. America's pastime. Have some fun. Play some catch. Do something out there. Watch some baseball. In terms of our Rockies content for podcast, we have we mentioned it. We have a draft live stream that will be happening on the day of the draft. We'll share more once we get closer. And then probably a couple days later, we'll do a midseason review, talk about the Rockies so far in the first half, any big things that will be coming up. It should be it won't be too long of a podcast because, again, we've talked about a lot of the stuff, today. But if you have any questions, any comments, any thoughts, anything that you'd like to us share on the podcast, just let us know at Rockies Now on Instagram, X, and Threads. If you want to contact us personally, our links, our information is right below. Well, it's not mine, not today, but it's under Adam's and Tom's. Contact them if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns about your Colorado Rockies, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you all so much, Adam and Tom. It was really good to see you guys again. Really looking forward to more conversations for Rockies baseball and hopefully better days ahead.
We'll be talking a little bit as the series of this weekend gets closer.
Oh yeah, that's right. The White Sox. When we have a couple cool posts coming out regarding White Sox Now and Rockies Now, and big shout out to Tom here. He's going to be starting his White Sox podcast in a couple of weeks, so we're really pumped up for that. So go subscribe to White Sox Now, our side. Now baseball affiliate, if you want to call it, whatever you want to call it.
The Chicago affiliate of 5280.
Right. There you go. There you go. But anyways, for those who are watching, thank you so much. I know tonight wasn't as much as we've had in the past, but thank you so much for your comments. Lux, awesome. Thank you for being in the comments tonight. If you're watching, Jackson, absolutely. If you're watching on 5280 Media on the YouTube channel, thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe over there. If you're watching on YouTube at Rockies Now, thank you for watching. And if you're watching on X, thank you for your follow and your support for Rockies Now. We'll talk to you all next time. And as always, go Rockies.